Hello again. Welcome to another lesson in Algebra 1. Today we're covering section 3.6, solve proportions using cross products. You should have spent a lot of time last year and the year before with proportions, so most of this will be reviewed, but we'll extend it a little bit before the lesson. Alright, so your warm up, write an equation that can be used to solve each. You do not actually have to solve it. We're just going to write an equation that could be used. Okay? Number one, a ticket agency sells tickets to a professional basketball game. The agency charges $22.50 for each ticket, a convenience charge of $5 for each ticket, and then a processing fee of $10.50 for the entire order. So that means it's all, or the whole order, no matter how many tickets we buy. We only pay $10.50 once. The total charge for an order is $313. How many tickets were purchased? Remember, the question always gives you a tip-off about what variable you should name. So in this case, I'm going to let T equal the number of tickets purchased. Okay? So my equation is going to be $22.50 for each ticket, okay, plus $5 for each ticket. Plus, we have to pay that processing fee of $10.50, and when we're done, we owe $313. If we solve this equation, we'll figure out how many tickets were purchased. Okay? All right, number two. Currently, you have $80, and your sister has $145. You decide to save $6 of your allowance each week, so your amount is going to go up, while your sister decides to spend all of her allowance plus $7 extra of her savings each week. Okay? How many weeks will it be before you have as much money as your sister? So we start at $80. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to know the variable. Our variable says how many weeks. That's it off there. So W equals the number of weeks. Okay? We start with $80 and we save our whole allowance every week, which is $6 a week. Okay? Our sister starts at $145, but she spends all of her allowance plus some of her savings, and the amount of savings she spends each week is $7. Okay? If we solve this for W, which is variables on both sides, we find out how many weeks it took before we have the same amount of money. And that's because this expression stands for our money, and this expression over here stands for our sister's money. And when they are equal, we will have the same amount of money. All right? So new stuff here, we have ratios. A ratio uses division to compare two quantities. You can write the ratio of two quantities, A and B, where B is not equal to 0, in three different ways. Remember, we can't have a division problem with 0 on the bottom. So the three ways are to use the word TO in between, use a colon in between, or to just write it as a fraction. Each ratio, though, is still read the same way, the ratio of A to B. Okay? Also, ratios should be written in simplest form. So, for instance, if the ratio was 10 to 2, we should reduce that to 5 to 1. 2 divides evenly into both parts. So 5 to 1 is the simplest form of 10 to 2. Okay? In other words, just reduce the fraction. If I wrote 10 over 2, we reduce it to 5 over 1. But we do need a bottom. Speaking of bottoms, if the bottom is 1, like ours was just, it's a special ratio called a rate. Okay? We see these every day in life. Your parents use the first one when they're traveling in the car. That's 50 miles per 1 hour. This one probably used with your cell phone, cost per minute. That's 10 cents per 1 minute talking. Okay, 3 cans for $1, maybe in the grocery store, so that's 3 cans for $1. Notice there is a 1 on the bottom of each one of these ratios. Okay, therefore it is a rate. That's what makes it a rate. Okay. All right, number 1, a volleyball team plays 14 home matches and 10 away matches. We're going to write 3 ratios, parts A, B, and C. Find the ratio of home matches to away matches. Our home matches are 14, and our away matches are 10, but we need to reduce this. So this reduces to 7 to 5. Okay. Part B, Find the ratio of home matches to all of the matches. Home matches were 14. Okay. All of the matches were 24. You have to get that by adding up the home and the away. This is not reduced, so we need to reduce this to 7 to 12. Okay? And then in our last one, find the ratio of away matches to all matches. Away matches were 10. All matches were 24, so we can reduce this to 5 to 12. Notice I wrote my ratios in all 3 ways that you could do it. You don't have to write all 3. You just pick one and go with it. Okay, so if you like the colon better, use it. If you like the TO, if you like the fraction. Most people will write theirs with the fraction. The most common way of seeing a ratio. Right? Flip the page over. Cross product property. Okay, so if 2 ratios are equivalent to each other, for instance, 1/2 is equal to 5/10, you can do the cross products. Cross products are found by multiplying the top of one and the bottom of the other. 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10. And if the cross products are equal, you know the ratios were equal. So in this case, the ratios were definitely equal. 1/2 is 5/10, so the cross products are the same. And that will work for any pair of ratios that are the same. Okay, that's what this thing says. Okay? A and B is equivalent to C and D, then A times D, the first cross product, is equal to B times C, the second cross product. Okay? All right. Use the cross products to solve each proportion to find the missing piece of one of the ratios here. Okay? All right. So we have 2 times x is 2x. And we have 3 times 4, which is 12. And then we solve this resulting one-step equation to get 6. Okay? Now we should check ourselves to make sure. On the left side we already had 2/3, and on the right side now we have 4/6. And 4/6 does reduce to 2/3, so we know we did it right. Once again, you can do your check mentally, but you should really do a check. Okay? All right, so number 3, 13 times z is our first cross product. And our second cross product is 6 times 52. And 6 times 52 is 312. Okay, these are equal to each other, so then we could solve our one-step equation. So divide both sides by 13. And we would get z is equal to 24. Okay? So 13 over 6 is the same fraction as 52 over 24. If you were to type 52 over 24 on your calculator and reduce it using the fraction key, you get 13 over 6. Okay? So these are our answers for the missing piece of one of the ratios. Now, I know in the past you've learned little shortcuts on how you can trick and get it really fast or do a lot of it in your brain. I want to see the cross products equal to each other, because when we get down to the next ones, you can see that the tricks don't work anymore. Okay? So this one, we do our cross products. We're going to get 6 times negative 49, negative 294. And the other way, we have 7 times w plus 7. W plus 7 is a whole quantity. It has to be added before I can do the multiply. So it needs to be in parentheses. Remember the big bars and grouping symbols, so it really puts these on the top and bottom of each one of these fraction pieces. Okay? So now let's solve this equation. Negative 294 equals 7w plus 49. Subtract 49 from both sides. And this will give us negative 343 equals 7w. And then divide both sides by 7, and we're going to get negative 49 is w. So there's our answer for w. This will make the 2 ratios equivalent to each other. And allows us to plug negative 49 into here. So negative 49 over 7 on the left side makes negative 7 over 1. And on the right side, if I take negative 49 plus 7 makes negative 42, divided by 6, and then written as a fraction is also negative 7 over 1. So we know that we did it right. Okay? You don't need to show that work, but it's a good habit to get into to check yourself to see that you're doing it right. Okay? All right, our last one of these, do our cross products, set them equal to each other. Remember that's a whole quantity on the bottom there, so that needs to have parentheses. This is 6 times b plus 13. And then these cross products should be equal to each other, because that's what our cross product rule said. So on this side we get 18d, and then 18 times negative 13 will make negative 234. And over here we get 6d, and 6 times 13 makes 78, positive 78. So I'll solve my equation, variables on both sides. So the first thing I'll do is subtract 6d from both sides to get 12d minus 234 equals 78. And then I will add 234 both sides to get 12d is equal to 312. And then I'll divide both sides by 12. And it's going to give me d is 26. Now you're not likely to have guessed that. So make sure you're showing some work. But on the left side, we would have gotten 18 over 39. And on the right side, we would have gotten 6 over 13. And these do work because if I take 6 and times it by 3, it'll turn into 18. And 13 times 3 will give me 39. So I know these are equivalent ratios. Okay? Number 6. Write and solve a proportion for each one of these. So now we're going to come up with our own proportion and then solve it. Okay? So a movie is filmed so that the ratio of the length to the width, there's one ratio right there, length to width, is 1.85 to 1. That means that this is the 1.85 for the length, and the width is 1. This comes in the same order as that one. So this guy and this guy, the length comes first and the width comes second. Okay? What is the length of the image? I'll put an L on top. If the width is 38 feet. That's why I write this ahead of time, to make sure that I know that I have links on the top of all of my ratios, and I have widths on the bottom of all my ratios. Where you guys make mistakes in this is when you get the width or length mixed up on one of the ratios. One's got the length on top and the other one has the length on the bottom. And this will help stop you by just writing this down first. Okay? All right, so I'll do my cross products. I got 1.85 times 38. This will give me 70.3 equals 1L. Well, that's just L. Well, I'm done. I don't even have to solve anything. Okay? So, our sentence is the length is 70.3 feet. That's because it was 38 feet the other way. Okay? All right, every 10 minutes, the cashier at the head of your line is able to help 3 people. There are 11 people in line in front of you. How long do we have to wait to purchase a ticket? So we are comparing the minutes of waiting to the peeps in line. Okay? So we have 10 minutes of waiting for 3 people. We have 11 people in front of us. We put the 11 down here, and we don't know how many minutes we must wait. We put the minutes on top. That's because our time, minutes went on all of the tops. And our people, 3 and 11, went on all the bottoms. Okay? We cross multiply, we get 110 equals 3 times m. Then I divide both sides by 3. And I find out that we are going to have to wait 36.6 recurring minutes before it is our turn. Okay? So our wait is 36.6 minutes. Alright, flip it over, we got 2 more. The recipe for tomato salsa calls for 30 tomatoes to make 12 pints of salsa. So we are comparing tomatoes to salsa. We have 30 tomatoes to make 12 pints of salsa. How many tomatoes are needed to make 4 pints of salsa? So 4 goes on the bottom, and a tomato goes on top. Okay? We're going to cross multiply and get 120 equals 12t. divide both sides by 12, and we're going to need 10 tomatoes. Our last one. The elevator that takes passengers from the lobby of the John Hancock Center in Chicago to the observation level travels at 150 feet in 5 seconds. The observation level is located on the 94th floor at 1,029 feet above the ground. Find the time it takes the elevator to travel from the lobby to the observation level. So we are comparing time it takes to go from the lobby to the observation tower. So we are comparing the time, which is in seconds, to distance that we are traveling, which is in feet. Okay? It takes 150 feet to travel 5 seconds. And we need to go 1,029 feet. Now I'm going to write this the other way around because in the problem it read 150 feet in 5 seconds. So I should probably stay consistent here. Either way, you're going to get the same answer, though. So if you started it that way and you like it, you can finish it up for the same answer. Okay? As long as you keep all your feet either on top or on the bottom. Now, we need to go 1,029 feet, and we don't know how many seconds it's going to take. I'm going to put t there because my s's and 5's look exactly the same. So cross multiply, I get 150t equals 5 times 1029, which is 5,145. And then I divide both sides by 150. This gives me 34.3. So 34.3 is the time it's going to take me. So it takes 34.3 seconds. That's a long elevator ride. Okay? Now notice we ignored the 94th floor because this was not really part of the problem. It was just an extra number in there to see if you could confuse yourself and use it. Okay, so be careful on the problems in class next time. Alright, so on the follow-up here, you have 2 word problems you have to solve. Be sure to show work. Notice it says right here, write and solve a proportion for each. You may not just put an answer. Okay? And then 3 and 4, use cross products to solve each. That means you have to actually do the cross products to solve the resulting equation. And then 5 and 6 are 2 review solving equation problems. So the answers are on the bottom, but you need a lot of work to match up with your answer. Okay? I will see you in class next time.